All right, guys. I don't know what happened with the video on that, so I'm just gonna pick back off to where I was before. So now, like I was saying before, I have a workplace violence report dated back to 7/2024, stating an issue with my first place that I was working at. Now, that got me that they made a decision, management made a decision to move me to a second location. I was fine with that. It was the distance, the location. I didn't have a problem going to the second store location. I was there for about a month, and after that, it was new management was brought in, new co-workers were brought in, and the culture, the business, store location seemed to change within a week or two. From the attitude, from the workplace culture, from everything, to where it was becoming tense and hostile. Now, from the very beginning, my manager was open to me that he didn't want me there. Whether it was for work-related reasons, whether it's for discrimination type reasons, that is something you have to ask him. But he was very open that he did not want me there. So I understood what he said to me, and I started to proceed to look for another job. Well, there were several issues with me trying to find another job, that during that whole time, there was one issue after another. Now, this is another letter that I have that I sent to upper management, dated November 20th, 2024, about me and management and the issues that was happening. Now, in that letter, they also stated that, it was he confronted me. It was something to where he started an argument with me. He tried to be open and upfront, and it's something to where I had to defuse the situation rather quickly in order to calm everybody involved down. Because from the accusations that he tried to make was so overblown, to the fact that it was almost, what I want to say, unprofessional. It was very unprofessional. And I sent a letter to management saying that about the manager and the issue that I had with my manager. Now, that letter, it took some time for me to speak with that manager, and in between that time, I received several complaints, several work performance complaints. Now, during this time, I was also getting a lot of passive aggressive behavior in the work environment, in that workplace culture, and it preoccupied my time, because now I had to focus my time, my energy, and my resources on a total separate issue that is not in my job description. Now, I try to mention this to management, that what I'm here for is to fix cars and trucks. I'm not here to be a manager. I'm not here to be a babysitter. I'm not here to be a therapist. I'm here to be a coworker and to be professional. And if we're cool, then we could be friends. If not, then we just be coworkers. And it's something to where I respect you on the job that you're doing, and I would like to get that reflected back on me. And if I've always been a team player, I've always been there and supporting my teammates. I've always been there, rooting for my coworker when they succeed. So this is something to where the attitude of the two new hires that hired there from the manager now was an issue, to where it seemed like I was fighting them and I was trying to fix a car. And it became a very difficult situation. Now, here is another letter, a complaint letter dated 12/6/2024. Now, in that letter, it was to upper management again, and it stated that there were several issues with the co-workers harassing me, targeting me, trying to team up and either provoke me into a fight or provoke me into some type of injury with work equipment, or trying to cause a distraction, or very unprofessional like behavior. Now, I sent upper management exactly what I'm telling you, and in a more detailed letter, more detailed email. And it's something to where I never heard anything back. I never got anything acknowledged back to me. But what I did get was more of the same. More of the same type of hostile work environment. So this is something to where that is also something that I wanted to mention was the time involved. Everything that I've said 4 or 5 months ago. I've said this, 6 months ago. I've been saying this. Listen, for whatever reason, either they're trying to team up against me, or there is a problem where passive aggressive behavior is being intensified. It's also being now being more vocal. And what led up to the fight about 3 weeks ago was it was starting to become physical now, where I had a coworker stick out his foot and have me try to walk around it, while the other coworker was there as like either a blocker or as there to try to intimidate. So you see that there's more than one problem here that I tried to make clear to management. Now, the reason why that's a problem is because it involves, now it's not just one person, now it involves two people. And the reason why that's important is because now that you have two people involved, you bring up the controversy of a scandal, you bring the controversy of a conspiracy, and now you bring up an issue of ethical practices, of unethical practices. And it's something to where, going back to the police report, I told this to the police officer. He had his gun, his firearm, in the co-worker's toolbox. It doesn't mention what type of gun he had. It mentions what type of gun it was in the police report, and I know with my safety device, which was a safety device meant, and it was non-lethal, and it's something to where it's does not require a gun permit. It does not require it's not as high of a level as a handgun. It's made there. The reason why I had it was there as a deterrent, to have, if there was any violence forced upon me, that I'd be able to defend myself. And that is part of the Constitution in the Second Amendment, to be able to defend myself when I'm faced in a violent act. When someone comes and confronts me in a violent act, I have the constitutional right to defend myself. Now, there's no mention to that in the police report about him and his gun, about him and the coworker and having that gun in the toolbox. I can support my safety deterrent. I can support the information that I have for my personal safety device. And his firearm was in a coworker's toolbox. Why are you going to have your firearm in somebody else's toolbox? That is something to where it's shady. It breeds of corruption. It breeds of a scandal, and it breeds of a really shady business practice, especially at that store location. And it makes it for a very difficult situation where it's not on the police report, and my Miranda rights wasn't read to me, and my constitutional rights are not being enforced and supported. Now, there needs to be a constitutional conscience in this with everybody involved. Everyone is equal. So now you have another situation where you have equality problems. Why am I not being entitled to the same rights as everyone else? And I tried to make a mention to that in my previous video on the issue of equality. The Constitution is made for every American citizen. That is where equality is supposed to be included. You're supposed to have a constitutional conscience that equality is made for everyone. The Constitution is supreme law over every other law. And we need to be able to acknowledge that things that fall in between the cracks cause a problem because it deals with accuracy. Now you have a police report that's not accurate, that doesn't explain everything that was there, the whole truth. It doesn't explain everything that was there that is supposed to be as evidence in a court of law. That's supposed to be accurate. And if you have accuracy problems in the documentation, then you're going to have an inaccurate judgment when a judge sentences a case. And it brings up the level of severity in my case, because now there's corruption, there's a possible scandal, and what I'm here trying to do with these videos is trying to avoid anything from falling in between the cracks. And we know that in America, we need to be able to justify our actions, be accountable for our actions, and be responsible for our actions. And if there's a level of conspiracy, if there's a level of fraud, if there's a level of unethical practices, then those people need to be accountable and responsible for their actions. Because from the evidence that I could support, there is a level of premeditation made to this that adds another layer of severity to this type of crime. So with that being said, here's another letter that I stated coming back that I'm showing you, dated December 6th. And I removed all the sensitive information about the level of communication that I try to be overly open, especially with management in this situation, in this workplace environment, because from what I was seeing, from what was happening, and from what I gathered, was something that there's a bad faith work environment, and there was a lot of shadiness that happened, and it's something to where there needs to be accountability. There needs to be responsibility. There needs to be a level of focus put onto these specific aspects of my case that needs to be brought up in a court of law. not to mention the police report, not to mention, you know, the location of the store, which adds another issue. And I'm going to show you, I'll show you more in detail in my next video. So thank you.